All right, everybody, welcome back. You guys are all doing well today. All right, I think today we are going to finish up translating the core class abilities over into our new and updated document here. Sorry, just making sure everything is working out good on my secondary screen here. Yep, cool. All right, so last two classes of the day are, whoops, don't want to be showing that right now, are the Speaker and the Warlord. The Speaker is our class replacement for bards, clerics, and druids, just because they fill a similar-ish niche in the game that should be well suited to this class archetype. I'm sure we're going to be talking about that a lot more as we get through their abilities. Then the Warlord is our strength and might based martial class that is probably strength and intellect over anything else. So it's going to be all about tactics, battle positioning, marks and taunts versus the Berserker, which is all about raw damage output. Excuse me. I maybe shouldn't have, but I had some ghost pepper jerky beforehand, and so my tongue is a little bit burning, but like in a good way. All right. So let's go ahead and just copy our sorcerer table over here. Actually, we're going to go ahead and bring everything over from the sorcerer class table. All right. So as we always do when we're starting out here, let's just go ahead and start by renaming all of our headers. All right. All right. All right. Is that a typo in the sorcerer as well? Let's check. Yes, it is. Let's go ahead and just get that fixed there. Wait. As always, I've got one thing as far as setup goes. There we go. All right. Jumping back to the speaker here. Speakers are another 1d8 class. So that actually allows me to translate a lot over here pretty easily. All right. And of course, this table here gets speaker. All right, so yes. So our class role here, we are a defender primary, leader secondary. Let's just go ahead and get that plugged in there. Power source, arcane, divine, or primal. This is one of the, I think it's the only class anymore that lets you actually choose your power source. All right. All right, so for ability score focus here, as a speaker, you gain focus with 2 ability scores of your choice between intellect, wisdom, or charisma. So let's go ahead and just do a quick little square here. So this is what our class looks like here. So you can have int and whiz. You can have int and charisma. You can have whiz and int would be the same thing, and then you can have wisdom and charisma. So despite it seeming like there is a lot here, due to overlap, there's really only 3 options of pairing either intellect and wisdom, intellect and charisma, or wisdom and charisma. So that is how we get our 3 nickname archetypes here. Sorcerers, nope, that's just speakers, who gain focus with their let me type intellect and wisdom with their intellect and charisma focus for wisdom and charisma. So wisdom and charisma, these are going to be our clerics. Intellect and charisma, those are going to be our bards. And intellect and wisdom are going to be our druids. Once again, it's the nickname clause. It doesn't necessarily change a ton at the moment. All right. So that is our core table there, up to our might, agility, and spellcraft. So as you can see on the right here, we actually have a couple different options, primarily in agility and spellcraft. Spellcraft, we have Arcana as our arcane focus, arcane ability attribute here. We also have religion for our clerics primarily, but also just our wisdom and divine magic power source ability attribute. Then we also have nature as our primal ability attribute here. As far as agility goes, we have given our speaker class here sleight of hand and streetwise. I am going to cut this down just a little bit, but I'm also going to give it back to them in a different way. I'm only going to give them agility in sleight of hand. And then we're going to go ahead and give a more broader buff to streetwise in the class features. Okay. Let's go ahead and take a quick look at our speaker class features here. Right. So the speaker is a bit of a unique class here, in that they are the only class that gets their class archetype at first level. And their class archetype is also a bit different than how every other class archetype works, in that it's a little bit more do-it-yourself. But what I'm primarily looking for here is our columns. So we have 3 columns here, which actually is perfect for the old sorcerer table here. So our first one is Orison's Known. Then we have our spellcraft minimum. And then our spellcraft level maximum. Oop. Stay where I want to be. Okay. So there we go there, and we're just going to translate this data directly on over onto this table here. So 333 444 555 and 6. All right, so our spellcraft minimum here, not applicable, not applicable, not applicable, and then 111 2 2, and then just 2s for the rest. All right, and then our spellcraft level maximum, 1 2 2 3 3 4 5 5 6 6. Okay, so that is actually a slightly different progression. This is an old 2/3 spellcaster step that I created. I think it is here. Yes. Let me see if it will share with me where it comes from. So it, yes. 1 2 2 3 3 4 5 5 6, and then sticks here, 1 in parentheses here because of a different connection. It comes from this progression of spell slots for a 2/3 caster, which is what our speaker is. They are not a full caster, they are a 2/3 caster. And honestly, I know that seems odd, but it is more than enough for what we... Alright, so let's go ahead and start with our feature here to address the missing streetwise. We're going to go ahead and what header do we usually use here? Heading 4, gotcha. First level speaker feature. Add space. After is the go. All right. You have ingratiated yourself with the people of your community and have built reputation of compassion, creativity, and passion, creativity, and ideally something else that starts with a C. Passion and altruism. I mean, it's not a C, but we'll come back to what that something else is. It's flavor text. It'll be fine. when you... Hi.
Hi, how's everything?
Sorry. That's Sarah. She's my girlfriend. She's the best. um. All right. So, back to focusing here. You have ingratiated yourself with the people of your community and have built a reputation of compassion, creativity, and another adjective or another noun. When you take a long rest, so this is going to do two things. In a new town settlement, you learn the nature, goings on. Jeez, I cannot type today. Of the community as if you were raised there. You have an advantage. All greed, wise, charisma, ability, challenges, while in this area, environment. Basically, you have a reputation as a good person, and that reputation precedes you, and so you are just kind of able to naturally and affluently talk and communicate with other people to basically get them to drop their guard defenses and just be an open hand, someone that you can talk to, like open up to, and it allows you to learn the area better. Actually, I believe there is a ranger feature here that is similar. So let me go ahead and check that just to see if there is overlap that I can use for the wording. So that way, abilities still kind of read the same across classes. I think that this is it. Next rest, no. Nope, we're good. Okay. Let me just check the urban environment. Okay, so you have advantage tier 2 on streetwise charisma checks. Once you have spent at least 4 hours canvassing and carousing in an urban environment you are familiar with. All public figures and locations as if you'd taken an extended rest in the city. So this is similar. When you take a long rest in a new town or settlement, you learn the nature and nature and goings on of the community, as if you were raised there. So this is a long rest instead of 4 hours, which I do like the urban here option for our ranger, just because it feels kind of Aragorn-y. You have advantage tier 2 on charisma checks. You just kind of canvas and carouse the urban environment. You learn the basics of being there as if you'd been there for about a week. You know, let's go ahead and just bump this to advantage tier 2. I feel like this is going to be more circumstantially useful, but it's also going to be more circumstantially roleplay focused. So let's go ahead and just do and put it at that there. They are similar abilities, but their distinctions are substantial. All right, so let's go ahead into the actual other pre-written abilities here. Okay, so our first feature here is... Sorry, I'm just fighting formatting because I'm going to be doing this. So we have channeling. And then we have our speaker domain. And those are both going to go in before our open hand on the streets here. Okay, so let's go ahead and just copy and paste everything. Boom, there we go. Alright, so channeling. First level speaker feature. Channeling is the act of drawing upon the forces of the world around you, be they arcane, divine, or primal, and shaping them into magical effects. Speakers channel bridges between the mundane and the supernatural weaves of the world around them. Spell list. A speaker's spell list represents the traditions, both magical and mundane, that tell the story of how you honed your craft. Choose a spell list. Divine or primal to represent this personal history. This should be arcane, divine, or primal. Hang on. Let me make sure that there isn't something here that gives you access to the arcane, but I don't believe there is. Nope. Yep. Cool. All right. Okay, so choose a spell list, arcane, divine, or primal to represent this personal history. I do think we had cut it down to divine or primal. Yeah. We cut it down to divine or primal because bards are going to get to steal arcane spells. In short, I believe that's the Arcana domain. Let me go ahead and actually jump forward and see if I wrote anything. I did. Yay. Okay, so we're going to keep it as divine or primal to start because one of your domain options can give you the arcane spell list. Or give you options from the arcane spell list. And this also does kind of go back to how bards worked in classic editions of D&D, where you had to take levels of several different classes, one of which including the druid as your magic focus class, before you were allowed to, take levels as a bard. And so, while that isn't a necessary component of how I set this class up, it is a nice little homage, I suppose. Orisons. As a speaker, you know 3 simple magical effects called orisons. These effects can come from communions with a patron deity, the natural world around you, or flashes of insight and inspiration between creative minds. At first level, you can cast 3 cantrips from your chosen spell list. When you reach 4th, 7th, and 10th level, you learn an additional cantrip of your choice from your spell list, as shown on the Orisons Known column of the speaker table. Could this just be cantrips? Yes, I just wanted to name it differently so it sounded different than the wizard. And also I think Orison sounds better for a speaker. It's a good word. Whenever you gain a level, you can replace one of your cantrips with another cantrip of your choice from your spell list. That is some old stuff. So let's go ahead and swap that out. When you complete an extended rest. There we go. We're trying to cue things off of extended rests rather than levels. When you complete an extended rest, you can replace one of your cantrips with another cantrip of your choice from your spell list. There we go. Alright. Words of power. You have a number of words of power equal to your spellcraft modifier. When you spend words of power to cast spells, you can recover expended words of power when you complete a short rest. Okay, I do not like how this is written here. You have a number of words of power equal to your spellcraft modifier. When you spend them to cast spells, you recover them when you complete a short rest. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and jump as a major action on turn. You can channel Arcanum to gain additional words of power. Yes, okay. This is good. Pairing spells equal your spellcraft modifier plus your level, minimum 1. Must be of level equal to or less than your spellcraft level maximum, as shown on the class table. Yes. 7 spells in your choice of first or second level. Any combination. Okay. You can change your list when you complete an extended rest. Time spent in studying contemplation, 1 minute per spell level. Yep. You can expend 1 use of your mystic conduit. Once per day, as part of taking a short or long rest, you can expend 1 use of your mystic conduit to do this. Yes. Good. Very good. Casting spells. To cast a prepared spell, you expend words of power equal to the spell's level. If the spell is of a level equal to or less than your spellcraft level minimum, you do not need to expend them. Right. Okay, so spellcraft level minimum just turns leveled spells into cantrips for you, which is why it goes up to 2nd level. So technically speaking, at 10th level, you can cast all 2nd level spells that you prepare as a cantrip. It's powerful, but that's because you're using a heroic resource casting. Okay, so what we are going to do is we're going to change words of power here into something that uses that reads like a heroic resource, because that's what it is. It might not get the heroic resource tag because it's built into into the channeling ability here, but that's what it is. Actually, yeah, no, we're going to just keep calling it channeling. Okay. So, you recover your expended words of power when you complete a short rest. Okay. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and just kind of copy off of the anointed here. The source of a speaker's power comes from their ability to harness the world around them. Comes from their ability to call upon words of power. To invoke words of power. These words are primal forces. No. Manifest the very ideas and concepts that first shaped world and imagination. First shaped the world. Imaginations. There. Words of Power is a dynamic resource that ebbs and flows throughout an encounter. Speakers, words of a speaker's words of power is it feels like it should be R. Words of power are a dynamic, yeah. Let's just get rid of a speakers because that throws in a bit of a hitch. Words of power are a dynamic resource that ebb and flow throughout an encounter. Whenever you complete a short rest, excuse me, you gain a number of words. Number of power equal to your spellcraft modifier. You lose all. Gain a number of words equal to your spellcraft modifier. There we go. All right. As a major action on your turn, you can take the Channel Arcanum action to gain additional words of power. This all right. So there we go. All right. So basically, you start with your maximum number of words of power, which is your spellcraft modifier, and then as you cast spells using them, they will dwindle, and then you can take the Channel Arcanum action to pray, to commune with nature, to work out lyrics or prose in your journals. Then you regain words of power to cast your spells. So, when you channel Arcanum as a major action, you gain 1d6 words of power, plus a number of words of power equal to we have the word words several times. We have the word number several times. I know I just added that one. Plus a number of words of power equal to the number of allied creatures within 10 feet. Plus additional words of power. One d6 words of power plus additional words of power equal to the number of allied creatures within 10 feet of you. Okay, there we go. That's better. It's still a little clunky, but it is better. Alright, preparing spells. You prepare a number of speaker spells from your chosen spell list equal to your spellcraft modifier plus your level, minimum of 1 spell. Spells you prepare must be of a level equal to or less than your spellcraft level maximum as shown on the speaker class table. You can change. This is where they're different from wizards. You can change your list of prepared spells when you complete an extended rest. So once you choose your spell list, they are sticking with you throughout the adventure. Preparing a new list of speaker spells requires time spent in study and contemplation, at least 1 minute per spell level for each spell you prepare. Once per day, as part of taking a short or long rest, you can expend 1 use of your Mystic Conduit to replace one of your prepared spells with another spell from your chosen spell list that is available to you. So you still have an option, but it does cost. Alright. Casting spells. To cast a prepared spell, you expend words of power equal to the spell's level. If the spell is of a level equal to or less than your spellcraft level minimum, you do not expend words of power when casting the spell. When you create a speaker. Okay, so yeah, here is our class archetype. Let's go ahead and get rid of that there. Instead of it being semicolon heroic resource, this is a feature and a heroic resource. It is this is the only time it's going to be like that. It just because this one is different. The heroic resource is built into spellcasting because there isn't going to be a way that you gain or expend the resource outside of spellcasting. So let's not use the ampersand, let's just use an and. Otherwise that will kind of be like, hey, was there an intention there? Yes, it is like that there. Alright. When you create a speaker, choose 2 domains. You get 2 domains from which they draw their power. Arcana, Grave, Life, Light, Nature, Order, Splendor, Tempest, Trickery, or Valor. You gain features from both your chosen domains when you reach 2nd, 5th, and 8th level. At 1st level, and when you reach those levels. Oh, sorry, I jumped the gun there. Additionally, at 1st level, your domains impart channeling conventions and domain resistance, described below. Channeling conventions. At 1st level, you gain channeling conventions associated with each of your domains that give you 2 classifications of spells that preparing from grants you a boon to your spellcraft, as well as 2 classifications from which you cannot prepare. Domain resistance. At 1st level, you gain resistance to 1 type of damage specified by your domains. When you complete an extended rest, you can switch your chosen domain resistance for your other domain's resistance. Alright. So, speaker domains. Arcana domain. The Arcana domain is deeply attuned to the secrets of magic, serving deities of knowledge, mystery, or the weave of magic itself. They wield powerful spells and unique abilities to manipulate arcane forces, acting as both a guardian of forbidden knowledge and a conduit between the divine and magical realms. The Grave domain is devoted to the balance between life and death. They safeguard souls, heal the living, and wield necrotic power to destroy undead and prevent the desecration of the natural cycle. The Life domain is dedicated to preserving and nurturing life and serving deities of healing, vitality, and compassion. They excel at restorative magic, protecting their allies and ensuring the endurance of life. The Light domain speaker is a divine spellcaster who channels the power of light, truth, and hope. They wield radiant energy to illuminate darkness, expose hidden evils, and inspire allies with the brilliance of their divine connection. The Nature domain protects the natural world and its harmony. They command the forces of nature, commune with beasts and plants, and balance the power of civilization with the untamed wilderness. The Order domain speaker is a divine spellcaster devoted to law, justice, and civilization, serving deities of authority and structure. They inspire discipline, enforce order, and use their divine power to command allies and quell chaos in pursuit of harmony and stability. The Splendor domain is a speaker domain that embodies beauty, charm, and inspiration. They use their radiant presence and magic to uplift allies, captivate foes, and spread the awe-inspiring brilliance of art, love, and grandeur. The Tempest domain speaker is a divine spellcaster who channels the raw power of storms, serving deities of thunder, sea, and sky. They wield lightning and thunder with destructive force, commanding the fury of the elements to smite foes and protect their allies. The Trickery domain speaker is a divine spellcaster who serves deities of mischief, deception, and freedom. They use illusion, stealth, and guile to confound enemies, manipulate the battlefield, and inspire creativity and unpredictability in their allies. And finally, Valor domain. A Valor domain speaker is devoted to courage, honor, and heroism. They inspire allies with bravery, bolster their strength in battle, and lead by example, standing as a beacon of hope in the face of adversity. Yeah. So that's that, and then here is the Open Hand in the Streets feature that we just wrote up. Alright. Let's go ahead. Oh, that is not right. There we go. Alright, so our second feature here okay. Do we have a Mystic Conduit uses? Okay. So it is not quite what I was expecting, but that's okay. That is fine. So we're going to go ahead and talk about some of those implications there, but let's go ahead and copy over Mystic Conduit first. Actually, and Paragon Talent, just because it's standard text. Alright. Mystic Conduit. Speakers are the voice of magic across the material planes. They serve as conduits for the arcane, primal, and divine in the material world, and work wonders to find balance among the ever-shifting paths before them. Your understanding of magic and its intrinsic interplay with the world around you grants you the ability to contact and channel unique magical gifts, mystic conduits. At second level, you are able to perform one such effect, Mystic Conduit, Healing Word. Healing Word is not a spell anymore. It is a Mystic Conduit. It is exclusively available to the speaker class. Cure Wounds is going to be a part of the standard game and at part of core spell lists, but that is not what is here. As you progress and specialize your speaker's journey, you can learn other ways to manifest your Mystic Conduit. When you use this ability, you choose which of your known Mystic Conduits is manifested. You must then complete a short or long rest to use your Mystic Conduit again. When you have no uses remaining, you can spend 1 point of willpower to use this ability again. If you're looking for an analog in 5e, this is Channel Divinity. Alright. Some Mystic Conduit effects require challenges against an opponent's defenses. When you manifest such an effect from this class, you use your Spellcraft modifier as your Mystic Conduit modifier. Despite using your Spellcraft modifier for certain effects, Mystic Conduits are not spells or like magical effects and cannot be dispelled or countered through any means of Spellcraft. I'm going to go ahead and just kind of copy that here, and we're going to go ahead and throw that onto the Sorceress Investitures. sorceress investiture is a set of disciplines and maneuvers presenting there. All right. I'll use your spellcraft modifier when investitures. There we go. All right. Let's go ahead and jump back to the speaker here. Beginning at 4th level, you can use your Mystic Conduit twice between rests, and at 10th level, you can use it 3 times between rests. When you complete a long rest, you regain your expended uses. Okay. Hang on. To use your Mystic, you must then complete a short or long rest to use your Mystic Conduit. Okay, so that is in conflict. Okay. Beginning at 4th level, you can use your Mystic Conduit twice between rests. When you complete a long rest, okay. Once used, you must then complete a short or long rest. Mystic Conduit again. You regain 1 expended use of your Mystic Conduit. You complete a short rest, and all uses when you complete a long rest. When you have no uses remaining, you can spend 1 point of willpower to use this again. There we go. Okay. I think that reads better here. Wave of restorative magics. I am going to format this as an ability, like as a form, as an action. Because I feel like that's what this is. I mean, it is what it is. Okay. Healing word. Mystic. No, speaker special action. That's good enough for that area there since it uses Mystic Conduit here. Mystic Conduit. This is a minor action. No implement, range of touch, 5 feet. No, I'm sorry, range of 60 feet. This is not Cure Wounds, this is Healing Word. Range of 60 feet. Target 1 creature. When you invoke this Mystic Conduit, a creature of your choice that you can not see, perceive. That's... Man, I'm so glad we're doing this because this needs fixing. You can perceive within 60 feet of you regains 1d4 hit points for each of your speaker class levels up to a maximum of 10d4. So this is better than your base Healing Word. It's just limited in its uses. So that gives you reason to take both Healing Word and Cure Wounds. Cure Wounds has a range of touch, but it's going to heal back a lot more hit points. Healing Word is at range, but you're limited in that you only have a few number of uses of Mystic Conduit before you have to start eating into your willpower. So 60 feet of you gains 1d4 hit points. Each of your speaker class levels up to a maximum of 10d4. Yes. Alright. Paragon Talent. 3rd, 6th, and 9th level speaker feature. Same as every other class feature. Alright. So we only have 2 more abilities here that are core. Let's go ahead and just copy both of them over. And also, I need to go towards the wizard. Actually, you know, it can be really anything because we've been... Yeah, let's just go with the anointed here because... Oh, ooh, what's this? I added the vestiges to all of the classes because that's how it's supposed to be. So, what is our vestige called here for the speaker? This is a vestige of harmony. 10th level speaker feature. And we're going to add the same comment that we've put on basically every speaker, or not every speaker, every vestige feature here. There we go. Comment, there we go, and all is good there. Alright, so 4th level speaker feature, Strength of Faith and Word. As a speaker, your attunement to the weave of magic that permeates your environs grants you additional strength in situations where others might falter. When you make a challenge with advantage, you can roll a d6 for each tier of advantage you have instead of a d4. This increases to a d8 at 7th level. When you make a roll, have advantage tier 2 on an ability challenge, you can choose whether or not you increase the result of your roll by 1 tier, or whether you can choose whether you increase the result of your roll by 1 tier or roll 1d6 or roll a die for each level. This is tied to how we used to do advantage, which was just you start adding in a bunch of extra dice. So advantage tier 1 was 1d4, advantage tier 2 was 2d4, and there was an advantage tier 3, which was 3d4. I simplified that to advantage tier 1 is a d4, advantage tier 2 is you automatically go up one tier result, and advantage tier 3 no longer exists. So Strength of Faith and Word here says you get a d6 instead. So you would get a d6, which is slightly better, and so that's why I added the clause here of when you have advantage tier 2 on an ability challenge, you can choose whether you increase the result of your roll by 1 tier, which is the standard effect, or roll a die for each level of advantage. Usually this is going to be you roll a die for each level because the result of 2d6s is going to be perhaps a bit better than the result of just boosting yourself by 1 tier, and it increases it even more from that when it's d8. Basically, this is just better advantage for you. Empowered Spellcraft at 7th level. You are a channel of your domain's magical potential in battle. When a creature takes damage from one of your cantrips or weapon attacks, you can also deal a burst of radiant or necrotic damage, your choice, equal to your proficiency die to that creature. Once you deal this damage, you can't use this feature again until the start of your next turn. Okay, that's fine. It's just a little bit of bonus flavor damage. Capstone feature, Indeterminate. Then we added our Vestige. So that is what we have for the speaker here. Let's jump to our last core class. The Warlord. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab the tables and such from the Berserker, since that's going to have like our clauses for weapon training and such. There we go. Boom. All right, so let's go ahead and start changing the word Berserker to Warlord. Power source is just going to be Martial. So, what do you guys think about the speaker class? Because that is... Oh, hang on. I realized I forgot to change something there. But like that is a very big distinction and difference from your 5e Cleric, Bard, or Druid. But I think that it fits a lot of those fantasies and is... I personally think it's a bit... It's much more useful. That's just me, and as the designer, I'm biased. So I'm really interested in hearing what you think, because it is different, and I am getting rid of a couple of classes that people do like, and replacing them with one that kind of does it all. My thought process here is the Druid's biggest limitation in something like 5e is their ability to concentrate on only one spell at a time. This doesn't fix that, but what it does is it opens up something like the Cleric, where a lot of their effects are fire and forget, and so you don't have to maintain concentration if you don't want to. It shifts things away from the Druid just having only concentration spells. And then the Bard, I mean, that was kind of a lot of the idea of words of power. I had a Bard in a previous campaign that I ran, who I was giving a early version of this feature too, and they seemed to quite like it. But at the same time, I was like, I don't think there is enough to the bard and their ability to just kind of manipulate um, spells and words of power that is core to its own class. And so I started thinking, okay, what are other classes that would do something similar to this? And the cleric, manipulating words of power, that is kind of a religion thing to do, as kind of a shepherd or a leader type within a community. I'm like, okay, so maybe the bard is this sort of performative face and community leader, whereas the cleric is the divine and religious sort of community. And I'm like, okay. And they're both using words of power. They're both channeling this power from either the thoughts and minds and wills of people, or, you know, that and or perhaps divine. And then I was like, okay. And so then the druid came about because I was wanting to fix the whole concentration on everything problems with them, but also because I personally have a bit of a bias against druids in 5e, because I mean, as a part of the whole concentration issue, I think that the druid in 5e is, it's not weak, because like the moon druid is actually nuts, but it is a little bit, I don't want to say flavorless, but it needs love. The druid in 5e, their whole shtick is, I turn into an animal, I wild shape. And that's cool. That's a very good class identity. But what it really isn't is a class mechanic. Because outside of wild shape, sure, you have a couple of different things that your subclasses can do. Like you have the Circle of Stars, which is the starry form, and that uses wild shape. But the druid is a primal spellcaster. They're harnessing the power of nature to cast spells. A lot of their abilities are about that. And so having this, I also turn into an animal, it's just grafted onto it. And so I was looking at that, I'm like, I think the druid works better as a nature cleric. And instead of, you know, the nature clerics, whatchamacallit, channel divinity, that's where they get their wild shape. They turn into the animals here, but they're primarily a cleric. They get the cleric's spellcasting style and abilities, but it's more primal focused spells. And so then I was like, okay. So I have this class that is cleric and bard, and, you know, fits those two things together very well. Can I add in the druid? And the answer was, I think so. Because once again, if the druid is a nature cleric, their mystic conduit feature here is gonna be their wild shape. And so that is, one, good flavor. It is a unique ability for the nature domain. But it's also not inherently limiting the druid in this game to just primal spells. It is not inherently limiting them to just wild shape. One of the things that I thought of that was actually very interesting was I thought of The Witcher. I'm primarily familiar with The Witcher through the Netflix series, and in the first season we have, I'm blanking on his name right now, even though I had kind of thought about it in preparation for this for this stream, but the druid who's wearing the kind of long flowing yellow robes, and I'm like, apparently he's a druid. And I was like, that's interesting, because I immediately associate druids with 5e druids and, you know, shape-shifting into animals and all that, and I was like, I don't see him necessarily as a druid, but then I thought about it a bit more, and druids don't necessarily have to be I shapeshift into an animal. They don't have to be Doric from D&D Honor Among Thieves. But what they do is they speak for the natural world. They speak for the trees. I am the Lorax, I speak for the trees. That is a druidic thing. They speak for the trees, they speak for the animals who can't necessarily speak for themselves. And so that's interesting. So could I have a druid that has maybe primal spells, but doesn't have I shapeshift into animals? Yeah, they're a speaker. They're the speaker. They are the natural speaker. And so druids, clerics, and bards became the faces of this new class. And so you choose your spellcasting. You choose your mystic domains. You can be the druid who shapeshifts into animals. You take the nature domain. But you also get another domain beyond that. What is it? It's really your choice. You could be a nature and arcana domain druid, a druid who learns the secrets of the arcane, but, still has this innate primal connection. You could be nature and order and trying to bring balance between the urban environments and natural environments. You can be a cleric who follows a god of knowledge, so arcana domain. Or you can it's all of these different balances, and I think that is good for storytelling. I think that is good for character identity, just because there are so many different options here. Are you a bard who tells tales of trickery and war? So trickery and valor domain. You can create all sorts of different character concepts and identities within this framework, and I feel like that is inherently more powerful than the tools that 5e has given us. But once again, I want to hear what you guys think, just because it is a large departure from what is commonly recognized in these sort of circles to what is presented here in my game. But without going back and forth, let's go ahead and jump back towards the warlord here. All right. So, the warlord is a leader primarily and a controller secondary. Power source is martial. As a warlord, you gain focus with your strength and intellect. No nickname clause here. You are primarily a battlefield tactician. You are a 1d10 hit die class. So you get hit points at first level is 10 plus con plus origin, then 1d10 or 6 plus con per warlord level after. Might, agility, and spellcraft are all standard across the board, except I threw on to might history. You attack with history. You attack having learned information about battles in the past, so that you can employ similar tactics in the present. You are fighting with the knowledge of war and the history of your kingdom or your country, and your understanding of that history fuels your potential in battle. Armor proficiency is light, medium, and heavy armor. Actually, I'm going to throw shields on there as well, because you should. This is how you can get your big sword and board boys. Simple and martial weapons. You are trained to use a number of weapons you're proficient with equal to your. I'm going to change this from strength to intellect. It feels that feels better. Once again, you're learning. You are a battlefield tactician. You have mastered this. You know in your mind what is special about all of these weapons and what you can do with them. All right. Our class features table here. Right now we only have one column. Cool. Proud strikes maximum. Can't wait to find out what that means. All right. All right. So first level, that is 2d4, 2d4, 3d4, 3d4, and 4d4 for the rest. There we go. All right. So, our first ability here. Forward. First level warlord feature. At the start of your turn, you can call your allies to advance the line of combat. All creatures of your choice within 30 feet of you that can hear you can shift a number of feet based on your current prowess. Prowess is our heroic resource. So, at the start of your turn, you can move people up to 15 feet away. It's just an always-on little thing that you get. We like this. Alright, so, Prowess, our first level warlord feature, heroic resource. I believe our convention is gaining and expending. Let me go ahead and jump over to the anointed here to double check that. Gaining and expending, yes. All right. All right. Gaining prowess. You gain 2 prowess at the start of your turn. This bonus increases to 1d4 plus 1 prowess if you begin the turn bloodied. You also gain 1 prowess whenever an ally within 30 feet of you lands a critical hit against an opponent. Okay. So I believe it's actually the anointed who has the critical hit clause for gaining prowess as well, or gaining conviction. Let's go ahead and just jump there. Gain 1 conviction when you defend against an attack, and every time you roll a 12 or a 1 on either of your core dice. Start of your turn, you gain 1 conviction, 1d4 when you begin the turn blooded. Okay, so it is different. An ally within 30 feet of you hits an opponent with a tier 4 attack result. No, on an attack. There we go. You also gain 1 prowess whenever an ally within 30 feet of you rolls a tier 4 result on an attack. That feels right. Expending prowess. You can spend prowess to issue commands to your allies and threaten your opponents. During a short or long rest, you expend all unspent prowess and gain temporary hit points equal to the amount expended. Okay. So you start with 0 prowess when you go into initiative, and then you just start, and then you just kind of keep gaining it the longer and longer the fight goes on. So you can always use forward because it's a 0 to 3 prowess trigger. And so your first round of combat, unless you go down to half health immediately or start that at that point, you are always going to just kind of be continually going up, and so that gives you more shifting, and then it gives you more, more maneuvers and such. So you can spend your prowess to issue commands, or you can hoard your prowess and gain other effects. So like the forward, or what we're going to see here, Proud Strikes. As a minor action on your turn, or as part of dealing damage to an opponent with a melee basic attack, you can expend prowess to deal damage to an opponent adjacent to you. For every point of prowess spent in this manner, you deal 1d4 damage up to your Proud Strikes maximum as shown. Alright, hang on. Let me copy this and bring it over here for y'all. As a minor action on your turn, or as a part of dealing damage to an opponent, you can expend prowess to deal damage to an opponent adjacent to you. So just as a minor action on your turn, just by being adjacent to someone, you can just kind of bash them with a shield and you just deal a bit of extra damage. Okay. So this is either a minor action or just I make an attack roll and I'm going to smite with this feature. When you would deal damage with your Proud Strike, you can add one of the following effects. Each effect has a die cost, which is the number of Proud Strike dice you must forego to add the effect. You remove the die before rolling, and the effect occurs immediately after the attack's damage is dealt. Mark and Taunt. This is where okay. So you basically would trade doing damage for either marking or taunting your opponent. Or you just do 2d4 damage. Mark. You mark an opponent as a target for your allies until the target creature is bloodied, or until they are defeated if they are already bloodied. All melee basic attacks made against them have advantage tier 1. So that is advantage, and deal an additional 1d4 damage. A creature can only be marked once, even in a party with multiple warlords. Important distinction, because that is different from the rogue, being able to have calling cards on multiple opponents. Taunt. You challenge an opponent, positioning yourself in such a manner that the target of your attack cannot ignore you. Until the end of your next turn, the target creature has disadvantage tier 2 on any attack that does not include you, and advantage tier 1. I'm going to keep the tier 1 in there just because it's distinct from disadvantage tier 2 when making melee weapon attacks against you. Alright. If you can begin to understand, I was reading the MCDM Tactician, so I think that there's some similar style of callouts here as far as ability names. So, I know that's definitely where forward comes from, and I believe there's still work to do is also. Second level feature. Once again, a second level feature coming in here that isn't just our second level class archetype, so but it's weird, and I'm going to just trust past me. There's still work to do. Second level warlord feature. As a minor action on your turn, you can call out to an ally and inspire them to keep fighting. You expend a number of your hit dice up to your current prowess and roll them. The target creature gains a number of temporary hit points equal to the amount rolled. Once you use this ability, it is unavailable to you until you complete a short rest. When you have no uses remaining, you can spend 1 prowess to use this ability again. Or 1 willpower. There we go. Alright. Warlord Regiment. I believe this is a different table. Second. Nope, it's probably not. I just remember putting X's in the page number columns. Okay. So I don't have Warlord regiments figured out yet, page numbers or descriptions. Paragon talent is the same as it is in every class. All right. Man, there is some. There's a good number of abilities here. All right. So let's go ahead and copy over our 4th level creatures. This might be an overtuned class. We're gonna find out. Armor Adept, 4th level. Why does that say Ranger? This is a Warlord. While you are wearing armor, you do not gain penalties from the armor set when applicable. No, but while you're wearing armor, you do not gain penalties from the armor set. When applicable, your movement speed is not reduced, and you do not... Oh, okay. So this is... Thank you, semicolon there. When applicable, your movement speed is not reduced, and you do not gain disadvantage on ability checks. There we go. Alright. I'm going to keep that as is, but... That semicolon is doing a lot of heavy lifting there. Coordinated Assault. When you take the tag team action... Hell yeah. We love the tag team action. On your turn, your ally does not need to spend a minor action to take a second major action on your turn. That's huge. Okay. So yeah, no, you take the tag team action, and then your ally just gets the second major action. They don't have to spend a minor action. That is great. It's a nice little flavor win here. It's also not really that overpowered. And so, so you have 2 major actions then and 2 minor actions. So your ally gets a good boost. When you have used the tag team action, it is unavailable to you until you complete a short rest. When you have no uses remaining, you can spend 2 prowess to perform this action. Again, let's go. That's good stuff. All right. This is a combat leader class, and I'm really proud of this design. This is one of the, for the record, this is one of the classes that I did most recently. So I think there's going to be less that needs to be updated, but like, I'm really enjoying this. This is good. Sure, we have a lot of abilities, but like, these here are relatively minor kind of passive things that you already should be doing in combat. It's just giving you incentive to do them. Alright, 4th level. This isn't over yet. As a reaction to an ally being reduced to 0 hit points, you can call out to them to inspire a second win. The target creature can immediately take a minor action. Why would they be taking a minor action? It's not their turn. Being reduced to 0 points, you can to inspire a second win. Target creature can immediately spend a number of hit dice up to your current prowess or their character level, whichever is higher. A nice little clause there. Good shit, me. Alright. Rolling them and gaining hit points equal to the amount rolled. If the creature heals more than 10 hit points, they don't fall prone. Hell yes, I love this. Once you use this ability, it is unavailable to you until you complete a short rest. When you have no uses remaining, you can spend 4 prowess to use this ability again. I love this. I love this. This is a good flavor win. Like, these are all 3 minor abilities here. But, like, it is just, hey, I'm a leader. You're going to be healing. You're going to be doing more attacks. I am coordinating how this battlefield works, and you're all scaling off of my prowess because I'm in control of this fight. We are going to win this thing. I love this. Hell yes. Alright, into the fray. 7th level Warlord feature. A number of creatures of your choice up to your intellect modifier, within 30 feet of you who can hear you, have advantage tier 3 on initiative. Once initiative has been rolled, you can swap the initiative results of 2 of your allies. Okay. Actually, let's just go ahead and copy all of the 7th level features here. Once again, there's a lot of them, but I think if we're following the same sort of pattern, they're going to be small. As advantage, advantage tier 2. Because there is no such thing as advantage tier 3. Once initiative has been... Okay, so actually initiative does work differently. I fully committed to popcorn initiative. So here, let me go ahead and roll over to our Drawing Steel and Crossing Swords chapter. Getting into a fight, the combat sequence, yes. Roll initiative. Once creatures who are surprised are determined, each side chooses a character to represent their best effort in the initiative challenge. Each representative will roll a skill or ability challenge determined by the GM in opposition to one another, typically either stealth, dexterity, or perception, wisdom. All right. When you or an ally of yours rolls initiative, okay, so this is in opposition to one another. This is a competitive die roll. They roll their rolls initiative. They rolls one of your rolls initiative. No. Ally of yours makes an initiative roll using a skill they are proficient in. They roll their proficiency die twice. Wait, hang on. They roll their proficiency die twice and take the higher result? No. Because you can't say that they have advantage tier 2 because that's just going to bump them a tier result on their roll, and this isn't a result that has a tier because it's a binary result. It's a competitive roll between both sides. So they roll their proficiency die twice when determining the result of the ability challenge. Okay. And then because it's going to be popcorning back and forth, once initiative has been rolled, you can swap the initiative results of 2 of your allies. That's not a thing that is useful. Okay. Okay. So let's go ahead and just scrap the rest of that. There we go. If you or one of your allies acts first in the initiative order, you gain. It used to be 2d4 prowess, but now I've changed it to 1d4 prowess. Okay. If you're are acting first and have a surprise round, you gain an additional 1d4 prowess. Alright, so that's a way to get up to 2d4 prowess immediately. That could be at most 8 prowess, which means everyone gets a free 30 feet of movement at the start of your turn. Sorry, just forward do. Forward at the start of your turn, yeah. So, like, that is huge. At the start of your turn, you call out creatures hear you, can shift. So they don't have to, but they can. If one of your opponents acts first in the initiative order, you and all allies within 30 feet of you gain 2d4 temporary hit points. If you expend 1 point of willpower when you use this ability, both effects occur. Fuck yes, that's a good use of willpower. Oh, love it. So, like, it's just a flavor win all around. You can expend 1 point of willpower, use this to get both effects. Otherwise, you automatically get 1 for either winning the initiative count, which is more prowess to you and your allies, or you get more defense to your teammates. Or if you're just fucking awesome, you get both. Oh, I love this. I love this. I love this class. This is such a good fighter class. 7th level feature, the Mountain Leads. You count as 1 size larger when determining your carrying capacity and the weight you can push, drag, or lift. When you have prowess equal to or greater than half your character level, rounded down, you cannot be slowed, and when you would be rooted, you are instead slowed. So, like, first bit here, it's encumbrance. Maybe that's not a huge deal to you, maybe that's not a huge deal to your party, but, like, it's a bonus. But then you become either resistant to a condition or just, like, you can't be stopped. I love it. It's so good. This is, man, this class is getting me hyped. Alright. 7th level Warlord feature. Your fear is not your own. All creatures who begin their turn within 15 feet of you are resistant to the charmed or frightened conditions. If a creature hostile to you ends a charmed or frightened effect in this manner, they are stunned until the start of your next turn. Yeah, okay. Sorry, it caught me by surprise because we were talking allies and then we were talking enemies. So creatures who begin their turn within 15 feet of you, they roll for charmed and frightened at the start of at the start of their turns. So that means they can shake it off before their turn. Resistance to conditions is so good. It is so useful in this game. If a creature hostile to you ends one of their effects, if a creature hostile to you ends a charmed or frightened effect in this manner, I don't like the phrase "in this manner." If a creature hostile to you within this same within 15 feet of you ends a charmed or frightened effect at the start of their turn, they are stunned until the start of their next turn. So, like, oh, you're trying to shake off our charm? No, you're going to need to recover. You might not be frightened, but now you are paralyzed. Like this is just condition. Like, ends a charmed or frightened effect. We don't have to say at the start of their turn, just on their turn. Ends a charmed or frightened effect on their turn. They are stunned until the start of their next turn. Like, man, that's just good. That's just real good. Like, okay, they do all of this stuff. They take their major action to like try and shake it off. If it's charmed or frightened, maybe they're resistant to it, maybe they're not. Honestly, this kind of punishes resistance. So they're resistant to charmed or frightened. Okay, they get to roll for that at the start of their turn. Cool. They end the effect. No, they don't. They're stunned now. They're stunned until the start of their next turn. This is like, I feel like this clause here would annoy me as a DM, but for a player, this is such a huge win. It's such a good kind of reversal of fortune situation. Like, it's, man, and it comes online later. It's at 7th level, so it's not something you're going to be dealing with at lower levels, so it's, I think that it's mostly fine. All right. Alright, so our 2 10th level features here, because we don't have the vestige in here yet. Alright, final gambit. When you're reduced to 0 hit points, you call out to your allies. One creature of your choice within 30 feet of you can immediately make a melee weapon attack against an opponent. If you expend 1 point of willpower when you use this ability, the attacked creature is vulnerable to your chosen creature's attack. So on one hand, you're at 0 hit points now. You're in a bad spot. But instead of using your willpower or fatigue levels to reduce your chance of dying, you're going to be like, no, we're going to win this encounter first. Go ahead and make an attack, and they're going to take double damage. Once you use this ability, it's unavailable to you until you complete a long rest. That's fine. Cut them down. Like, you call out orders to your team. As a minor action on your turn, choose a number of creatures up to your intellect modifier who can hear you. They can immediately use their reaction to shift up to their movement speed, make a melee weapon attack with advantage tier 1, and gain temporary hit points equal to their level. That is huge. Once you use this ability, it is unavailable to you until you complete an extended rest. That's why. Okay. When you have no uses remaining, you can spend 8 prowess to use this ability again. So this is going to be a dramatic thing that happens pretty rarely, guaranteed once per adventure, but on the rarer side, just because it is a huge prowess sink, and like it's once per adventure. As a minor action on your turn, immediately use their reaction to shift up to their movement speed. So that's just free movement, no attacks of opportunities. Make a melee weapon attack with advantage. We can get rid of tier 1 here and gain temporary hit points equal to their level. That is a huge, huge boon. But once again, it's also circumstantial because it's extended rest. Let's go. Honestly, this 8 prowess feature might need to go up. So here, let me go ahead and jump back over to the Anointed here. we're going to go ahead and grab our vestige feature here. Boom. Boom. Hang on, these are not in alphabetical order. Final Gambit should come after cut them down. Thankfully, that's easy to fix there. Vestige of Honor. 10th level Warlord feature. Boom. There we go. Ah, man. Honestly, reading this Warlord has made me so hyped. Like, I love this class. Like, I remember liking it when I was writing it, but like, I really like this class. This is a good class. This is a good fighter class. Man, love it. I love it. Love it. Special actions. That is a thing that this class doesn't have right now, and that it should have. They don't have spells, so we're going to go ahead and just kind of quickly copy the Berserker special attacks feature over to the Warlord here. Warlord Proud Strikes. Warlord special attacks. There we go. Number of special attacks from the Warlord special attack list equal to your intellect modifier minimum of 3. Complete an extended rest. There we go. There is our special attack clause there. Man, I love the Warlord. This is a good fighter class. I am so pleased with how it is, with how it reads, and like this feels like such a man. This just feels like such a good time to play. With all that said, right now it's almost 5 o'clock. So I need to go take care of dinner for Sarah and I. So I'm going to see you guys next time. So thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you around.